Following the resignation of the former director in early January this year, Mr. J.A. took total control of the Tourism Authority and has informed that he carried out major reshuffle at the Tourism Authority without consulting the board. On the 12th February 2026, one lady officer of the Tourism Authority reported that the part-time chairperson in a precautionary measure to the Line Barracks Police Station, OB number 1278/2026. I wish to point out, Madam Speaker, that this is not the only complaint of misbehavior, harassment at the Tourism Authority reported to my ministry and the Labour Office. I wish to mention the case of another lady who reported having verbal abused by the part-time chairperson using unacceptable language, which I don't want to quote. She reported the case to the Labour Office and her union. Mr. J was fully aware of all these complaints, as his explanation has also been sought by the ministry. In addition, Madam Speaker, Mr. J had forced his way to chair the licensing committee, which examined and grants licenses, leisure craft, tourism activity, guest house, restaurant, and hotels. Although this is not in line with the Code of Good Governance, he held that key committee pratiquement en otage. Meetings were being scheduled as per his inconvenience after a long interval despite application accumulating. And many members present here in the House have called my ministry to complain of the excessive delay in determination of application. Since the situation at Tourism Authority was deteriorating, I had no choice than to end the appointment as part-time chairperson of the Tourism Authority, in line with Section 4.3 of the Tourism Authority Act and Section 28(1)(c) of the Interpretation of General Clauses Act. Same was communicated to him by way of a letter on the 27th February 2026. However, I understand that following intense lobbying from his part, instruction was received at my ministry on the Thursday, 5th March 2026, for his letter of termination to be recalled. I wish to point out that I was out of the country at the time. I came back only on Saturday, the 7th of March 2026. Madam Speaker, I later took cognizance of this matter, and was further discussed at the meeting of the Cabinet held on the 6th, 2026, and was decided that Mr. J.A. be suspended with immediate effect and that an inquiry be carried out to look into the various allegations of malpractices made against him. My ministry is in consultation with the Attorney General Office for setting up of an inquiry. The House will agree that it will be more in order for me to delve into the matter further, given an inquiry is being contemplated.
Will allow me 3 supplementaries.
I'll try.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, but very brief ones. The first one, Madam Speaker, being this non-executive director, according to law, does not have the same protection as an employee. The question is, why was it decided to suspend him after having dismissed him, to suspend him and to conduct an inquiry, when in fact, as early as October 2025, there had been at least 2 previous complaints against this person for verbal abuse, but also for acting in abuse of his authority as a non-executive director, giving directive and giving orders to staff, having a day-to-day office, having a secretary, and all sorts of other privileges which he was not entitled to.
Madame la Présidente, je pense que je j'ai été très explicite dans ma réponse initiale, mais néanmoins, Madam Speaker, there is not only some complaints, there are several. And at date, there are several employees who had already lodged a complaint either at the Ministry of Labour, at the police, with my ministry, and I confirmed that it was abusing his authority and even had access to CCTV footage. Yes, he did act like a beto, Madam Speaker. As a responsible minister, I act in the interest, I must say, of the employees and revoke Mr. J.A. as chairperson.
Yeah, he asked for two.
Yes, Madam Speaker, is the minister aware that on the 5th he was recalled? And this is a very serious matter. On the 6th, Friday the 6th, this the non-executive chairman who calls at the office at 7 had his own key. And in his office, a shredder.
Dude, you're always making statements.
Is he aware? It is a question that he had his own key and a shredder, and that on Friday the 6th, he was given unsupervised access to the Tourism Authority and has done God knows what for I don't know how long. And on the eve, he had been revoked, and there was an inquiry that would be instituted a few hours later. Is he aware that he had his key and a shredder in his office, access to a shredder, and left unsupervised on the 6th of March?
Of course, Madam Speaker, I'm aware, I was fully aware. Yes, I confirm that Mr. J.A. refused to hand over his keys and over Tourism Authority property. Needful is being done to recover the property of Tourism Authority. But I must say on the other side, Madam Speaker, but my ministry, in consultation with the Attorney General Office, is setting up an inquiry, and the House and the inquiry will be going. I will have to wait.
Wait for the inquiry, yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Minister inform the House why he was maintained at his position despite all those numerous accusations? Thank you.
We knew about it, but he never came to the office when we called him. And I talked to him several times on the phone, and he was always outside the country. And he was not listening even to the minister. So, for my part, I don't want to be subsidized. The matter, given that an inquiry is being contemplated, let's wait for the inquiry and then we see.
Yes. Yes, there's a question there was asked before.
Can I ask the Honourable Minister if the day Mr. G.A. came back to office after his reintegration, he was involved in an incident, and if yes, what was the nature of that incident? Thank you.
On the day that he came back, yes?
Yes, indeed, Madam Speaker. Yes, I'm informed that there was an incident on the Friday, 6th of March 2026. Mr. J.A. came on the premises of Tourism Authority and yelled at the director and other employees. The part-time chairperson, even uttered some unpleasant word. And the issue was on his instance that his access to image of CCTV camera of the organization, but I got my possession, and this is the key of everything.
Which you're not giving us for the moment. Maybe you'll give it to those who will inquire, exactly. I suppose. Yes, Mr.
Madam Speaker, given the influence of the super non-executive chairman that he has wielded in the past, is the minister satisfied that, in view of the numerous complaints that had been made against him and the fact that no action had been taken prior, is he satisfied with how senior members of government have come to whitewash those complaints in the news before even an investigation providing its findings, and even commenting on what he believed to be the accusations and their seriousness? Is the minister satisfied given that these are employees falling under an authority under his responsibility, that due process has been followed in this matter.
I already took decisions that have to be taken, Madam President. But what I want to do, what I want to say, I can't be judge and party even before having the findings of the inquiry.
Yes.
I
think we've gone quite thoroughly in this issue. May I ask for next question, please? Okay. Give me time.
B28.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, the House will recall that the previous government was never in favor of making public the report of the Court of Investigation into the grounding of MV Wakasho. The MSM-led regime was indifferent and insensitive to the appeal from the public and members of opposition. I place on record that this government took a bold decision, and on the 2nd October 2025, the report was made public. Indeed, a major milestone in our bid to making freedom of information a reality and upholding transparency in government endeavors. Since the grounding of the MV Wakasho on the 25th July 2020, and to date, Madam Speaker, there has been a total of 6,309 claims amounting to approximately 2.3 billion rupees, which have been transmitted to Japan P&I Club, the insurer of MV Wakasho, for reimbursement. However, as I had previously mentioned in my reply to PQB 989, at the sitting of the 11th November 2025, whereby I tabled the total amount of compensation, which is around 200 million rupees, that was paid to the victims over the period 2021 to 2022 by the insurer of MV Wakasho. It was indeed a huge letdown, as only 200 million out of the 2.3 billion was paid to the victims. On the 25th October 2021, the ship owner, Okayo Maritime Corporation, entered a case before the Supreme Court applying for a limitation fund to be set up, limiting the value of compensation to be paid to the tune of approximately 720 million rupees. I am also informed that since this case was lodged, the insurer has had ceased payment of compensation to the victims. The last payment of compensation made by the insurer was in April 2022. On the 23rd February 2026, the Supreme Court delivered a judgment authorizing Okayo Maritime Corporation to set up a limitation fund for the payment of claims not related to oil pollution damage by way of bank guarantee. I have been informed by the Attorney General's office that Okayo Maritime Corporation has now lodged an appeal against the judgment of the Supreme Court before the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. The case will probably be heard before the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council by the middle of next year. I am made to understand that my good friend, the honourable member to the Supreme Court, judgment in his question, and I'm sure he was referring to the Supreme Court judgment and not as an international court, as there's been no compensation proposed by the International Court regarding this case. I'm further informed by the Attorney General's office, Madam Speaker, that following the Supreme Court judgment, the state of Mauritius will now enter a case against the owner and related parties to seek damages for the oil pollution damage, following the grounding of the MV Wakasho and the ensuing oil spill. It is in this very perspective that my ministry, in consultation with the Attorney General's office, is working on a mise en demeure against Okayo Maritime Corporation for oil pollution damage. This government believes in the principle of the rule of law, and it is committed to ensure that justice is done to the people of Mauritius, especially those who have been directly suffered due to the impact of the shipwreck and the oil spill. As a responsible government, we will stand guided by the decision of the court. But I wish to reiterate that government will ensure that compensation due are paid to victims.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Madam the Speaker. Being given that a figure has been earmarked for compensation, is the Honourable Minister in a position to see whether there is a possibility to negotiate for an interim payment in the meantime so as to reduce the amount of prejudice being caused to the victims of the MV Wakashu?
My honourable friend can rest assured that in regards to the legal issue, the matter is being dealt with by our friends from the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Your next question has already been replied, right? Now we have the Honourable Third Member for Bobassin, Petite Rivière.
B30.
Madam Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that currently 75 secondary schools offering Creole Mauricien, KM, as a subject from grade 7 onwards. Out of the 75 colleges, 26 are state secondary schools, while 49 are private secondary schools. Presently, 28 KM educators are posted in the state secondary schools, while 101 KM educators operating in private secondary schools are registered with a private secondary education authority. Madam Speaker, as regards part B of the question, I'm informed that KM educators are posted in every state college wherein KM is offered as a subject. Private secondary schools offering KM also provide KM educators to students opting for the subject. Notwithstanding the above, I'm informed that 2 students from one SSS, a college not offering KM as a subject, sat for KM examinations for the National Certificate of Education examinations. There is no report of any case whereby students have sat for the school certificate examinations in KM without having a designated educator thereof. Madam Speaker, with regard to part C of the question, I'm informed that an exercise was recently carried out for the recruitment of supply teachers, including KM supply teachers, during this financial year for state colleges. 7 KM educators have also been recently recruited in private secondary schools. In view of the upcoming budgetary exercise, my ministry will submit its proposal to the Minister of Finance for the recruitment of secondary educators, which will include additional KM educators in view of the increasing number of students opting for the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. L'honorable ministre peut-il dire à la Chambre si son ministère dispose d'un département dédié au créole mauricien afin de traiter toutes les questions relatives à l'enseignement et au développement du créole mauricien dans les écoles primaires et secondaires? Et si ce n'est pas le cas, peut-il nous donner les raisons?
Madam Speaker, for the time being, there is no dedicated department handling this, and because it is rather new. And this government, in 2025, we introduced CAM as a subsidiary subject in HSE, and as from this year, it is a main subject in HSE. Definitely, if needs arises, this department will be created, as suggested by the honourable member.
Okay.
Bon, étant donné qu'aucune démarche, comme vient de le confirmer l'honorable ministre lui-même, de ce type n'a été entreprise depuis l'introduction du créole mauricien en 2012, il faut bien le préciser, l'honorable ministre, malgré qu'il l'a dit, je lui demande à nouveau, est-ce qu'il peut donner l'assurance à la Chambre que son ministère accordera l'attention nécessaire au créole mauricien, la langue des Mauriciens, en mettant en place un département spécifiquement dédié à cette matière.
Madam Speaker, again, I will answer the honourable member. If needs arises, within ministry in order to create such a department, it would be done by affirmative.
Okay, Mr. Bichuk?
Yes. Madame la Présidente, will the Honourable Minister confirm whether students are made to choose either KM or Oriental languages currently?
It is an optional subject, all right? It is an optional subject. They have proposed a series of subjects, and out of these subjects, they have to choose. Yes, it is an optional subject.
Yes?
Honourable Minister, will the Honourable Minister consider the possibility to make it possible for Mauritian students to do both KM and Oriental languages so that they don't have to choose one language, either KM or an Oriental language?
Madam Speaker, in practical terms, this has to be studied whether, as suggested by the Honourable Member, whether this can be proposed or not, because it has technicalities involved in it, because we are talking about timetabling, we are talking about teacher availability. It has a lot of implications, so this has to be studied before a direct answer can be provided to the Honourable Minister. Member.
Very interesting, very interesting. Next question, please. Yes, Mr. Rukni.
Madam Speaker, B31.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for the question. Madam Speaker, in my reply to the PQ 1146 in December 2025, I informed the House that there were 120 outstanding applications in respect of global business companies as at 15 November 2025, with the oldest application dating back to April 2023, that is some 2.5 years pending. I am informed that out of these cases, 76 applications had been completed, 10 were withdrawn, and 1 was returned to the applicant as at 28 February 2026, while 33 applications were still pending, with the oldest application dating back to 25 November 2024. Madam Speaker, since 15 November 2025 till 28 February 2026, I am informed that the Commission has received 713 new GBC applications, and as at the end of February, there were still 102 pending applications, which includes the 33 applications mentioned earlier. And I'm tabling, Madam Speaker, a breakdown of the status of the application for the global business companies received by the Commission as at 28 February 2026. The House was also informed, Madam Speaker, that due consideration would be given to the setting up of a complaints desk at the Commission, and to this regard, I am informed that an online complaints platform, namely the FSC Mauritius Online Complaints Portal, which also caters for complaints regarding a regulated entity holding a GBC license from the FSC, was launched yesterday. Madam Speaker, I would also like to add that the Financial Services Consultative Council, which meets regularly under my chairmanship since October 2025, monitors the implementation of the recommendations of the Financial Services Strategy Report, Rethinking the Future of the Financial Services Sector 2025-2030. The FSCC has a dedicated subcommittee to look into the ease of doing business of the financial services sector. This subcommittee meets under the chairmanship of the Chief Executive of the FSC and is closely monitoring the time taken to process applications at the FSC and look into ways and means to activate matters so that applications are processed in a reasonable time period. Madam Speaker, I would further like to highlight that as part of the budget 25-26, my ministry has set very clear performance indicators for the commissions through a performance agreement. These performance indicators are as follows. Firstly, a maximum turnaround time for application of 10 days. Secondly, that 85% of applications shall be processed within a maximum of 15 calendar days. And thirdly, that applications exceeding 30 calendar days shall represent only 5% of total applications. And in order to meet these objectives, Madam Speaker, I am informed that the Commission has initiated several actions to reduce the turnaround time for the processing of licenses, including GBCs. First, the known to Commission system, which was gazetted on 17 December 2025 and is effective as from 5th of January 2026. This system enables the FSC to streamline the process for those companies which already hold a license from the FSC. Secondly, the application for change in directorship and shareholders of a licensee of the FSC will become fully digital by the end of March 2026. Thirdly, the investment dealer application have been restructured with improved templates which are more user-friendly. Furthermore, I am also informed that the Commission is integrating the use of artificial intelligence agents across all applications to streamline the process for all licensing categories. These new initiatives, Madam Speaker, are meant to ensure quicker turnaround time for processing of licenses. And in conclusion, let me add that the improvements have been noted in processing time. Targets have not yet been met, but I am informed that the Commission is continuing to work on improving the ease of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, Mr. Rukni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the Minister please advise if there is any mechanism that exists to collect feedback from management companies and other licensees with regards to their experience in delays in time taken for considering their applications?
Madam Speaker, I have been urging the CEO of FSC and also through the FSCC to make sure that there is a feedback loop with GBC companies and management companies in general to make sure that, you know, there is the voice of the industry is heard with regard to those complaints. The complaints portal is one of them, but I've also asked them to make sure that they are continuously listening to the voice of industry. In fact, they have set up a forum called Industry Meet, which is meeting regularly, where all the stakeholders meet with CEO and the management of FSC to, you know, to listen to the industry.
Yes. All right. Honourable Second Member for Belrose-Quatre-Bornes.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. B32.
Madam Speaker, Club Méditerranée, also known as Club Med, is a 5-star rated hotel located at Albion and comprises 295 rooms and 40 villas. The hotel operates at an average occupancy rate of around 100% during peak seasons and approximately 50% off-peak periods. I am informed by the National Land Transport Authority that presently no taxi is licensed to operate from the hotel. However, 24 taxis from the surrounding localities have been operating from the hotel premises since 1st of July 2007 to cater for the transport needs of guests. Now, Madam Speaker, I am also informed by the NLTA that on 26 September 2007, the then NTA, National Transport Authority, it was then called the NTA, decided to grant 20 taxi licenses on transfer to operate from Club Méditerranée. Albion, Club Méditerranée, Albion, and the communiqué was issued on 6 October 2007 to invite applications. However, licensing exercise was not brought to conclusion due to representations from the General Taxi Owners Unions and a case lodged at the Supreme Court by 6 taxi owners. Madam Speaker, following a survey carried out in year 2022 and based on the policy criterion of one taxi for every 10 rooms, 33 taxis may be licensed to operate from the hotel. It is my understanding that on 7 April 2023, new applications were invited through the press to grant taxi licenses to operate from the hotel, and 55 applications were received. However, this exercise was not concluded in view of the serious flaws identified in the exercise. After the general election of 2024, the new management of the NLTA promptly cancelled the exercise. Madam Speaker, the NLTA has advised by the end of April 2026, in a month's time, 1.5 months' time also, applications will be invited on transfer from holders of taxi licenses within a radius of 6 kilometers to provide taxi services at Club Med Albion. Taxi operators who have been providing services at the hotel during the last 3 years will also be eligible to apply. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Je remercie le ministre pour sa réponse. Can the minister inform the House of the expected time frame for the allocation of these taxi licenses? Thank you.
Well, by the end of April 2026, like I mentioned, the expression of interest will be floated. Now, I hope there is no macadam, because sometimes if people protest against it, it can become complicated, like the case was in 2007. So I think within this year, it should be resolved.
Oui, Monsieur Bichuk.
Oui, Madame. My question is not directly related to Club Med, but to hotels and public service licenses. Will the Honourable Minister request the NLTA to please inquire into those hotels who are no more requesting taxi licenses and instead are outsourcing the business of transport to contractors, which to my knowledge is illegal?
Yes. Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for this question. I am aware of such practice, and mind you, my officers have been going down for crackdown operation, and some well-known hotels, they know Ronflant, have been taken to task.
Ils ne sont pas des gentils organisateurs. Okay, now the next question is until you're okay, huh? Okay, Mr. Bichu, yes?
Yes. B33, Madame.
I thank Honourable Member for this question, Madam Speaker. The House will recall that on 28 February 2025, I made a statement regarding the mobile network problem at Pobondieu along Salazie route. I informed on 3 points. First, that Mauritius Telecom had identified 3 locations for new mobile sites, namely Crimson Hall, near Salazie Farm, and near Obui bus terminal. Secondly, that Mauritius Telecom was in consultation with the owner of Crimson Hall, and a feasibility study is underway, and the works at this site were expected to be completed by end of May 2025. And thirdly, that MT was looking for a plot of land for the setting up of a new tower at the sites near Salazie Farm and Obui. And subject to the obtention of an appropriate plot of land and a building and land use permit, the new towers would be installed by December 2025 and May 2026, respectively. Madam Speaker, I am informed that the antenna support to be installed at Crimson Hall is already operational since October 2025. With regard to the sites identified at Salazie Farm and Obui bus terminal, I am further informed that Mauritius Telecom is still liaising with the Ministry of Agro-Industry for release of the land, and this is in process. As for MTEL Limited, it has indicated that once Mauritius Telecom secures a site and becomes operational, it would make a request for co-location at that site. And the third operator, MTML, standing for Mahanagar Telephone Mauritius Limited, informed that tests were conducted at the Salazie-Pobondieu region, but anticipated coverage improvement was not achieved, primarily due to dense vegetation. Further testing is being carried out, and if road coverage targets will still not be achieved, the option of co-locating would also be considered by this operator. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, being given that it is also a matter of concern for the people of the eastern region of the country with the same issue, would the Honourable Minister be able to confirm as to whether the same facilities are being, has been identified in those areas as well?
Yes, Minister.
Sure. This is a problem that is persistent in several regions of the country. I can also name the southeast coast, where at one point in time there's no connection at all. Now, the ICTA has taken note of this issue. This is why we are releasing, the ICTA rather, is releasing in a few weeks' time an app called NPERF, which will be used to officially send out by members of the public information on the network level. And this will be taken by the authority to the operators for them to ensure that they provide adequate coverage.
Great. Okay, Mr. Bichuk.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for the antenna at Crimson Hall. However, as a matter of policy, will the Honourable Minister consider the possibility of urging those telecom providers to provide service, because there are too many dead zones, and many of them, like Morvacqua, Morlong, Grand Bassin, Gorges, or regions which are high tourist regions, and unfortunately, it's a shame for Mauritius that there's no network coverage done by companies who earn millions of profit in a service, which, to my standard, is to be considered as an essential service.
Nowadays.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Bichuk. There is a reality there. There's an economic reality that the companies are also facing. However, there is a minimum coverage that should be provided for tourists, I agree, but also for Mauritians as well, because there are some areas where should a car break down and the driver be alone at night, it could cause danger to their lives. Therefore, the ICTA has the responsibility to ensure with the operators that there is a minimum coverage, and I will convey that message to the board of the ICTA. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Juman, your question has been replied already, so we've finished with that. Now I call Honourable Second Member for Savannah and Black River.
Madam Speaker, please. B35.
Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit of my ministry that the main road from Le Monde to Cas-Noyal goes through stretches of inhabited areas like the villages of Cas-Noyal, La Golette, Cotorafin, and Le Monde village, and several long stretches of uninhabited areas. In the inhabited areas, facilities such as street lighting, pedestrian crossings, footpaths, and bus stops are provided. However, along the uninhabited stretches, which mainly consist of forested areas, such facilities are limited because of resources. Madam Speaker, with regards to part A1 of the question, I am informed that cat's eyes are available in areas where there are limited or no street lights. In sections of the road that are properly lit, cat's eyes are not installed. Nevertheless, consideration will be given to the installation of additional cat's eyes where required, so as to improve the conspicuity of the road, particularly at night. Madam Speaker, with regard to part A2 of the question, street lights fall under the responsibility of the Highway Authority. That is, the Road Development Authority for classified roads and the local authorities for unclassified roads. It has been observed that street lights are available along the inhabited areas of the roads. However, these areas, solar street lights have been installed only at localized stretches such as Le Monde Junction, at Le Monde Junction. Road markings are present along the entire stretch of the road. However, at several locations, the road markings have faded and will need to be repainted. The maintenance of road marking along road Black River Savannah Road, Coastal Road B9, falls under the responsibility of the Road Development Authority. Madam Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Ajay Ganesh. In reply to Part B of the question, Madam Speaker, I am informed that requests have been received from residents regarding the provision of road humps in the villages of Cotorafin and Cas-Noyal, and actions have already been taken in this regard. Now, lastly, at Cotorafin, a raised pedestrian crossing has been implemented near the Kashmir Polo Club. In the village of Cas-Noyal, a road hump already exists along the Black River Savan Coastal Road B9 near the church. Additionally, with a view to deter speeding and enhance road safety in the region, 2 raised pedestrian crossings have recently been placed along the Chamarel-Cas-Noyal Road B104. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Now we have the Honourable Third Member for Port-Louis South and Port-Louis Central.
B36, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I shall answer this question in my capacity as Minister responsible for Hajj.
Okay.
So as it stands, the Islamic Cultural Center does not issue licenses or keep a register of operators for Umrah pilgrimage. However, there have been several meetings that have been organized ever since last year, which is an interministerial meeting. And at that interministerial meeting, it has for objective of revamping the law that governs the ICC, as well as 2 other pieces of legislation which would concern the Waqf and the Muslim Family Council. En passant, I can mention it. But there is a whole revamp of the statute relating to the Islamic Cultural Center, and this is one of the issues that will be taken on board, amongst other issues.
Okay. Yes, Doctor?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether it is not high time, considering the number of organizers who organize religious pilgrimage across the country, amongst we have Umrah, who have been taking people abroad, and we have no regulations. They are not answerable to any authority. And he and myself, we were recently on a group of 2,000 people, stranded Mauritians abroad, who were taken on a ride, I can put it in inverted commas, where they were not answerable to all the consequences of war and delayed travel and flight cancellation. It's high time whether we consider whether the tourism authority, because they are taking people on a touristic, I can put it, or pilgrimage religious, but at the end of the day, these people have to be answerable to the people that have to give them confidence.
What was your question?
My question is, it's high time we get the tourism authority as well involved to register these people.
Okay.
I have taken note of the observations made by the Honourable Member, Madam Speaker. It is true that some people do not like it that you refer to such pilgrimage as tourism, but then some would say it is indeed religious tourism. Now, there is the aspect of hospitality in there, since it concerns travel, it concerns hotel, it concerns a trip. However, those issues deserve our attention, and it's precisely the reason why the law is being revamped. And I totally agree with him that there are many people who organize this mini pilgrimage, the Umrah. Then they organize it in such a way where there is no need for an insurance, there is no need for any permit, there is no need for any insurance cover for any trip that goes bad, there is no need for an insurance for someone who may fall ill at a destination and then have to get medical assistance. So all those issues are clearly clairement d'actualité. In other jurisdictions, it is only, there are only organizers who are properly registered and who conform with the need to have a proper insurance for the protection of those who travel that are given the right to organize. So all this, I can assure the Honourable Member and all those listening to me inside here and outside, that all those matters will be taken into consideration in the new law that is being prepared as we speak.
I just noted that it does not only concern the Muslim pilgrimage, but all sorts of pilgrimage. I understand. So maybe Attorney General is listening.
Speaker, this question is specifically with regards to Umrah. So obviously, I'm not here pronouncing myself in any way whatsoever with regards to any other voyage of a religious nature apart from Umrah. So I'm limiting it to that.
Okay. But you will follow up, Doctor, I'm sure. Okay, so now we have Honorable Lobin, Member for La Caverne.
Yes, B37, please, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix that the river running adjacent to the Kanfuku football ground is River Ben Williams. With regard to part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that a site inspection was carried out on the 3rd December 2025 in the presence of the local disaster management coordinator, officers of the Public Health and Public Infrastructure Department, and municipal councillor. During that inspection, the port of the river extending from the Sri Sambuna temple to the M2 motorway, covering approximately 600 meters and including the stretch adjacent to the Kanfuku football ground, was thoroughly examined. The river was found to be clean and free-flowing, and no desilting works were deemed necessary at that time. Furthermore, the Land Drainage Authority, that is the LDA, has confirmed on 13 March 2026, following the review of the site observation and photographic evidence submitted by the Council, that the specific stretch of the river does not require additional desilting works at present, and that routine cleaning operations are sufficient to maintain proper water flow. Madam Speaker, with regard to part B of the question, the most recent cleaning exercise at that location was carried out by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix from 26 to 30 January 2026. This exercise included the removal of vegetation, cutting of grass and shrubs, and the clearing of fallen trees and waste in order to ensure the unobstructed flow of water and prevent any risk of flooding. Madam Speaker, I am further informed that rivers within the municipal jurisdiction are maintained on a regular cycle of 6 to 8 weeks, and the next cleaning exercise for that stretch is scheduled for 16 March 2026 in line with the Council's maintenance program. As regards desilting works, the last desilting operation for River Ben Williams, covering approximately 3.26 kilometers, including the stretch adjacent to the Kanfuku football ground, was carried out between 3 March 2025 and 14 April 2025 in accordance with the technical specification and guidance of the LDA. An assessment of rivers within the municipal area was also conducted in December 2025 and January 2026 in preparation for further maintenance work. Financial clearance has already been conveyed to the Municipal Council for desilting operation for the financial year 2025-2026, and bids received following the tender exercise, which closed on 6 March 2026, are currently under evaluation. Madam Speaker, I am also informed that the Council has sought the technical advice of the Geotechnical Unit of the Ministry of National Infrastructure, as excessive desilting in certain locations may potentially lead to erosion or instability of riverbanks. The technical site visit is scheduled on 20 March 2026 to determine whether any further engineering intervention may be required. In the meantime, the Municipal Council will continue regular monitoring and routine cleaning of the rivers to ensure free and safe water flow at all times in line with the recommendation of the LDA. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Speaker?
Yes. Mr. Levin,
Yes, one supplementary. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he would consider a site visit, a constat de visu, with all stakeholders, especially with regards to the river banks. The last time that those river banks were revamped was when Honourable Bagwan was Minister of Environment in 2000. and the riverbanks in almost all the rivers within this locality, even at 15 Canton, is in a very deplorable state. Yes, they do clean it, but the riverbanks are in a very deplorable state. If you could arrange for a site visit with all stakeholders, with the junior minister, with Minister Asiavaden, and all stakeholders, you will see the visu that this is not the case with regard to the riverbanks. Whether you would consider the same.
Madam Speaker, in this regard, I am agreeable to carry out a site visit with all the stakeholders, including with a representative of the Municipal Council, even Land Drainage Authority, Ministry of Environment, Forestry Division, and other concerned stakeholders to assess and in the safety of the communities. So, because for the time being, I have a picture which was sent by the council that the river is clean. So, never mind, we can make the site visit joint with all the honorable ministers also. Thank you.
You have a picture, but it's only for you, huh? Never mind. Honourable third member for Pamplemousses and Triolet.
Speaker, B38.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I wish to refer the honourable member to my reply made to PQB/987 at the sitting of 11th November 2025, where I had informed the House that our lagoons have been overexploited and depleted over the years. The previous government had gone against sustainable fisheries by issuing a substantial number of new fishermen cards. Furthermore, at the sitting of 9th December 2025, I had informed the House that with a view to ascertaining the genuineness of registered fishermen, my ministry had submitted the list of 2,546 fishermen to the Mauritius Revenue Authority and the Central Business Registration Department. Information submitted by these institutions are being examined by my ministry. Furthermore, I'm informed that from January to December 2025, a total of 62 applications for fishermen cards have been received at the 14 fisheries posts across the island. Another 2 applications have been received between January 2026 to date. As regards Part A and B of the question, these 64 applications are not being processed for the time being. A decision will be taken after the verification exercise. Madam Speaker, I reiterate that as a committed and responsible government, we have a duty to protect the traditional fishermen.
Yes, Mr. Rukni? Yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just make an appeal to the Honourable Minister not to make the same mistake like the previous government, giving card at the eve of the election. But can the Minister inform the House if there is any new criteria to maintain better control while delivering these cards?
No, you cannot. I'm not going to circulate the list of criteria for eligibility, but as you know, we are seeing to it that there is full compliance with existing criteria.
Yes, Mr. Bichuk.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister conduct a thorough inquiry on the number of fishermen cards that were distributed to undeserving political agents who don't even know how to tailler l'hameçon, attacher l'hameçon on the eve of the last elections, and following that, give due consideration to deserving people who are waiting since long for a fisherman card?
I'm not going to say that we're a long, long way to Tipperary, but if you had heard me well, I've said that the matter has been referred to MRA and the Central Business Registration specifically to look into those who should not have been given this fisherman card.
Yes, Mr. Rukni.
Madam Speaker, it is one thing that the fishermen having fishermen cards are eligible to weather allocations, and quite another for fishermen, genuine fishermen, wanting to earn a living going out to fish. Will it be the case that those people would be precluded from fishing if they don't have fishermen cards?
Are you referring to the appeal which you made to me and to Junior Minister? No, what are you saying? In relation to?
The question is simple.
Sorry,
If people don't have fishermen's cards,
Yes.
can they still fish? Like if I want to go and fish, can I?
Of course not.
Good.
The law is an ask, but we have to comply to the
Exactly.
provisions of the law.
C'est pas don commercial. Okay, we don't all go fishing every day. Please, let's Miss Sabada Patti, first member for Port Louis.
Thank you. B39, please.
Madam Speaker, at the outset, let me thank the honourable member for this question, which is her third one related to autistic children, after those she asked on 18th March and 17th June 2025. Madam Speaker, allow me to apprise the House that in accordance to Section 5 of the Special Education Needs Authority Act, the main functions of the SENA are inter alia to register special education needs institutions, their teaching and non-teaching staff, and any other resource person, and take appropriate action to ensure that the special education needs institutions are managed in accordance with relevant laws, rules, guidelines, directives, and standards. Madam Speaker, the special education needs institutions falling under the purview of SENA are as follows. 12 SEN integrated units, which are classrooms in public primary schools dedicated to SEN learners, 7 SEN resource development centers which cater for children with severe disabilities, and 47 NGOs providing services to SEN learners, 8 RCA SEN schools. I would like to add that admission of SEN learners is not limited only to SEN institutions. In certain cases, SEN learners also enroll in mainstream primary schools, which do not fall under the purview of SENA. Madam Speaker, I am informed by SENA that a communiqué was issued on 9th May 2025 inviting applications for admission of SEN learners in grade 1 for the year 2026. Each application had to be supported inter alia by a medical certificate. 521 applications were received as from that date of issue of the communiqué until February 2026. Out of these applications, 438 children turned up for screening exercises by allied health professionals in the SEN resource development centers. The mandatory comprehensive screening is carried out to determine the educational placement and accommodation required. Out of the 438 children who were screened, 143 children were identified to suffer from mild autism spectrum disorder. 32 of them were admitted in mainstream public and aided primary schools as at 13 February 2026. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that there have been delays in the admission of some of these 32 children because lack of teacher assistants and carers. With a view to coping with the situation, arrangements had been made by my ministry for the reallocation of teacher assistants and carers in certain cases. In other cases, internal arrangements were made by school management to accommodate the children with assistance of teachers and support teachers in certain schools. As regards the remaining children who suffer from higher forms of autism, they have been admitted in NGO SEN schools, SEN resource development centers, and SEN integrated units. Madam Speaker, I am also informed that there is currently an acute shortage of teacher assistants and carers on the local market. my ministry is envisaging the following measures in the short and medium terms in order to palliate for this shortage. 1, review the existing norms and standards to ease recruitment of assistant teachers, carers, and medical specialists in some cases. 2, contacting parents of children with disabilities who are willing to accompany their wards in the mainstream school on a voluntary and short-term basis. 3, creation of posts of teacher assistants and carers on the establishment of my ministry in the forthcoming budget. 4, accelerated training courses by the MIE to new recruits. And 5th, working in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to have the support of medical professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Thank you, Madame Speaker. Pourquoi ce sont les enfants autistes qui doivent faire les frais des carences administratives alors qu'on doit leur donner le meilleur encadrement possible pour étudier? Le ministre vient tout juste de faire mention que suite à ma question parlementaire datant du 17 juin 2025, alors vous avez fait mention d'unités intégrées renforcées pour les enfants autistes. Où en sommes-nous?
Madam Speaker, as I said, one of the major problems that we are facing is about staffing in that sector, all right? And unfortunately, the number of our kids who need special education needs, the number is increasing. And on the other side, we do not have trained professionals to cater for that sector. We are short of that. We are conscious, and that is why I gave the 5 measures which are palliative in order to address that issue in the short and medium term.
Yes, Mr. Bichuk and then Mr. Juman.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is the paradox. On one hand, we are telling that we don't have staffs, and on the other hand, I'm aware of lots of cases where people who have been hired to work in SEND schools, are still awaiting registration. May I request the Honorable Minister to look into all those pending cases of registration which might perhaps fill in those posts that are required to run these special schools for our special kids.
Are you aware, Minister?
Yes, Madam Speaker, let me inform the honourable member that there was a communique whereby we wanted to recruit, and many of those persons, perhaps honourable member later on gave me the list, they do not have the requirements officially, administratively, in order to be recruited. At times we even ask parents of these children to come and help as carer.
Yes, Mr. Juman.
Speaker, in the same vein, with regards to teachers, carers, and assistant teachers, can the Honourable Minister inform the House the number of pending applications at the level of Senate? Pending, what just the...
Isn't it the same question?
Yes, same question.
It's the same question.
Yes, but the number of
so you want to know
applications
the
pending,
number.
yes.
Okay. It looks like it's a serious...
It is indeed, Madam Speaker, it is indeed a serious issue, and I take good note of whatever the honourable member, and I thank him and Honourable Sababati for their personal involvement in caring for those autistic children. I'll ask Senate to do the needful.
Okay. We're done more or less. Madam Sabapati, you're happy?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Next question.
Oh, you have, so B40
Yeah,
now.
please. B40.
Madam Speaker, I presume that the health center to which the honourable member is referring to is in fact St. Croix Community Health Center, CHC, which is located in Jucre Street, St. Croix. The St. Croix Community Health Center comprises several services. Previously, all the facilities were dispensed from a small building. However, the facility had been upgraded with the provision of an additional building to palliate the lack of space. It is worth noting that St. Croix Community Health Center is the only CHC which provides dental services and has also extended opening hours up to 6 p.m. during weekdays similar to that of an area health center to cater for the large catchment area. Nevertheless, I understand that the space of the CHC is insufficient and the facility cannot be further expanded. The relocation of the CHC could be considered in the event funds and lands are available in the vicinity. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that maintenance work such as cleaning of the premises and minor repairs were carried out at the level of G2 Hospital. Moreover, I'm informed that external and internal painting have been carried out in October 2025 to address leakages reported in the pharmacy unit. Materials are being procured for waterproofing works. I'm also informed that several thefts have been reported over the years. On 9th January 2026, 4 air conditioning compressors have been stolen, and the matter was reported to the police of Abercrombie on 13th of January 2026. Specifications for the replacement of air conditioning are awaited from the Energy Services Division of the Ministry of National Infrastructure to enable my ministry to launch the bids. These will be done on a fast-track basis. Furthermore, the Commissioner of Police is being requested to carry out frequent patrols in the area to deter any illicit activities.
Yes.
Thank you, Madame. Puis-je demander à l'honorable ministre s'il existe au niveau de son ministère un département pour inspecter régulièrement les infrastructures comme les centres de santé et si des rapports sont rédigés car le centre de santé de Ducré à Sainte-Croix est dans un état déplorable et ceci depuis l'année dernière, Monsieur le ministre.
I have already mentioned some reparation works have already been conducted, but the best solution would have been to move to another building. But that will not be possible because of financial constraints.
Yes.
Thank you. Le ministre est-il au courant de la chaleur étouffante au dispensaire de ce même centre de santé, également d'un stock de médicaments périmés, et qu'est-ce qui peut être fait à ce sujet? Depuis l'année dernière, la situation est comme telle.
I have mentioned that there have been theft, the air conditioners, the air conditioning compressors was stolen, and that explains the reason. And secondly, I will not be in a position to launch bids unless and until I receive the specification from the ESD of MNI. Once I'll get it, I'll move for it. And I'm aware of the problem. That's why I can assure you, once the air conditioning is carried out, then other problems will be taken care of.
Okay. I think we've gone round that question. Mr. Siebert?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is question D/41, please.
Yes, Madam Speaker. In my replies to BQB 84 and B22 at the sittings of 17 December 2024 and 4 February 2025, the House was apprised of the operational situation on buses from Saint-Hubert to Cupid and Mayberg, as well as the measures being implemented by the NLTA to address irregularities and to improve service delivery thereto. My ministry is cognizant of the persistent transport problems faced by inhabitants of the region for their daily commuting needs. Following representations made to me by elected members of constituency number 11, yourself, Honorable Baburam and Honorable Ramdas, and other complaints received on malpractices occurring along route number 87, an inquiry was carried out at the level of my ministry, and that inquiry disclosed that the operations record filed by bus operators for compensation payments and subsidies with the NLTA had been falsified. The matter was consequently referred to CCID for investigation during the course of 2025. I'm not too sure whether this has been done very often, but we did it. Madam Speaker, I am informed by the NLTA that there are currently 7 buses which are licensed to operate along Route 87. Of these buses, 3 buses are operated by the individual bus operators and 3 buses by the NTC, while 1 bus owned by an individual operator is presently off-road due to major repairs. I am further informed that the passenger demand is relatively low along that corridor, particularly along the segment from Saint-Hubert to Richardot via Saint-Hilaire up to the junction of Deux Bras Road, New Grove. I am made to understand that as buses proceed beyond New Grove and overlap with other buses, other routes, passenger accommodation becomes normal and some vacant seats are generally observed. However, in the light of ongoing representations from the inhabitants, several meetings have also been held by the NLTA with the NTC and individual bus operators to ensure that services are operated in accordance with the approved timetable. Verification by the NLTA confirmed that the bus services, including school services from QPIP, were generally being provided at an interval of 30 minutes. The NLTA is also closely monitoring bus operation along that route since mid of February 2026. In cases where a bus is temporarily off-road, buses from nearby routes are redirected along Route 87 by the NLTA as an interim measure to serve the commuters. Madam Speaker, I have to point out that most importantly, I have directed the NLTA to carry out an assessment of bus services along the island and to identify all routes along which buses, additional buses, may be required. The exercise is ongoing and there have been notices in the press recently. Based on the outcome of this survey, the NLTA will review the current bus allocation to ensure adequacy of public bus transport along routes, including Saint-Hubert, Saint-Hilaire, and neighboring villages. Madam Speaker, very importantly, I have also been made aware that bus operators may not be providing services to the satisfaction of commuters along several routes, despite that they benefit from government subsidies. In this respect, I wish to inform the House and the public who travel by bus that after much effort at my ministry, the tender exercise for the design, supply, installation, testing and commissioning of a fleet management system for public buses, which will comprise an automatic location system, a bus information system, a chef de gare application, and a central control system, amongst others, was floated internationally on the government e-procurement website on 21st January 2026. The closing date is scheduled for 24th March 2026, that is next Tuesday, in a week's time. Madam Speaker, I am confident that with this paradigm shift, with the use of technology, this system, which uses GPSs, will go a long way to improve service, essentially in the following ways. Number one, to ensure that the bus companies provide the required number of trips for which they are paid for. And number two, to allow the traveling public to know the ETA, that is the expected time of arrival of their buses, either on their mobile phones or on display panels. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you're all right. Okay, third member for Port South, Dr. Amir.
B42, please. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the maximum number of chambers in different mortuaries is as follows: SSR Hospital 12, Victoria Hospital 9, Saj Hospital 18, Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital 12, Bramsukor 6, Bruno Chong Medical Center 9, New Suyak Hospital 6. Mortuary facilities comprise space for performing autopsies as and when required, and cold room for storage of corpses in chambers. These facilities existed at Dr. A.G. G2 Hospital since inception, but over time the cold room became defective and beyond repairs. My ministry has already initiated action for the installation of a new cold room for storage of corpses at Dr. G2 Hospital. Madam Speaker, as regards party of the question, I am informed that on 11th December 2023, a contractor was awarded the contract for supply, installation, testing and commissioning of a cold chamber for the mortuary of Dr. G2 Hospital with a capacity to accommodate 12 bodies. It was due to be delivered within 8 to 12 weeks, as from the letter of acceptance, work should have been completed by 4th March 2024. The supplier supplied the cold room on 1st July 2024 and installation was ongoing. In January 2025, an inspection was carried out during which several shortcomings were noted, such as poor workmanship, traces of rust or interior frames, defective lighting features, excessive condensation, amongst others. Despite the contractor was informed on several occasions to remedy the situation, an inspection carried out by the electrical engineer of the Ministry of National Infrastructure in August 2025 revealed that several issues had remained unsolved. Madam Speaker, meetings were held at the level of my ministry with the contractor, and the advice of Attorney General's office was sought. The latter advised that although the ministry is entitled to terminate the contract for non-performance, such action may result in a higher cost and delays. I am informed that my ministry accepted the proposal of the contractor for the provision of new equipment for the cold chamber at Dr. G2 Hospital, with expected delivery date of 29 January 2026 at no additional cost to the ministry. Dismantling and carting away of the existing equipment have been completed and the consignment would be shipped by air instead of sea to expedite delivery. I have been informed that the request of the supplier to supply, install and commission the equipment within 2 months has exceptionally been acceded to, and the supplier has been requested to submit the delivery date. Madam Speaker, in respect of Part B of the question, I have been informed that as an interim measure, the Ministry is procuring 2-bed refrigerants at hospital level. Tenders have already been launched with closing date of 18th March 2026. In addition, corpses are being transferred to the mortuary of other public hospitals. Madam Speaker, as regards Part C of the question pertaining to the installation of a separate mortuary facility, the matter has been referred to the Commissioner of Police for consideration.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have listened very clearly to the answer given by the Honourable Minister with regard to the delay in the implementation of a proper mortuary room at G2 Hospital. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he thinks it is advisable once again to give a further contractual agreement to a company that failed in toto to respect the specifications to which it was given in the first place for mortuary, namely, as he said, electrical defects, humidity, but above all, sizes. I mean, he even gave mortuary that were fitted only for young adolescents and children. I think, in my honest opinion, Minister, we should seek somebody else. We have waited a lot.
I totally agree with the Honourable Member, but advice was sought from the State Law Office. And the advice that I received, that if you're going to terminate the contract for non-performance, such action may result in higher costs and delays. And secondly, well, the Honourable Member is aware that for such type of works, we have got hardly a few contractors, and they don't even want to tender for such type of works. That is the reason we have given him the last chance. And at the same time, at no additional cost from us. So we are awaiting the last chance we are giving. I do hope that they are going to accede to the request, and the work will be completed, because I'm aware of the problem that inhabitants of the regions are facing. And I can assure the Honourable Member that I'm looking into the case personally.
Yes, Doctor.
Quick question. Thank you, Honourable Minister. May I ask the Honourable Minister, in these circumstances that has happened to G2 Hospital, may happen in other regional hospitals in regard to keeping courses for mortuary facilities or even autopsy, whether we should have readily available, as he just said recently, what we call refrigerant beds and cooling rooms that are readily available for those particular hospitals in the event that we have a very shortage of places to keep the bodies of loved ones and prevent all the trauma, psychological trauma that people of Port Louis particularly have had with regard to G2 Hospital. Thank you.
As far as the other hospitals are concerned, we never had any such problem. We have ample facilities. It's only exceptionally in G2 Hospital we had the problem, and that is the reason why we have ordered for the acquisition of 2 refrigerants. But at the same time, I have to look at other mortuaries where we have got corpses which are lying since long. Even these have to be dispensed with. There is a question on which I'm going to answer.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Amir, you're okay now? Okay. B43 and B44 have already been replied by the Prime Minister. So now we have Mr. Itwaria.
Madame la Présidente, B45, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, with regard to the potential risk of accident during the Sunday open market held at Fonsac, I wish to inform the House that, based on information obtained from the Mauritius Police Force, Northern Division, no road accidents, scratching or pickpocketing, or any harassment, public nuisance, assault cases have been reported to the immediate vicinity of the market for the period January 2023 to 13 March 2026. Madam Speaker, as regards the plan for the construction of the sheltered market at Fonsac, the project was initially identified as a project under preparation in 2021. At that time, an initial request was made to Compagnie de Monsoisie Limitée, CDMC, for the allocation of approximately 19,500 square meters of land forming part of Monsoisie Smart City Phase 2, for the purpose of implementing this project. The proposed acquisition of the land was to be considered under the provision of the Sugar Industry Efficiency Act 2001, while matters relating to land conversion were to be examined by the Ministry of Agro, Industry and Food Security. Subsequently, on 23rd September 2024, CDMC informed the authorities that it was agreeable in principle to transfer a plot of land of about 4,61 pièces at the nominal price of 1 rupee for the implementation of the project. Madam Speaker, following a site visit effected on 10 April 2025, which I attended together with the Honourable Minister of Education and Human Resources and the two Honourable members of the National Assembly for constituency number 6, representative of the District Council of Pamplemousses and officers of my ministry, it was considered that the initial proposed extent of land would not be sufficient to accommodate the market and the necessary supporting infrastructure. Subsequently, it was decided that a request be made for approximately 6 acres of land in order to cater for the construction of the sheltered market, as well as parking facilities and other associated amenities required for the proper operation of the market. The District Council of Pamplemousses has accordingly made the request to Compagnie de Montsoisy. By letter dated 25 November 2025, the company informs that the request for 6 enfants of land was under consideration and that a reply would be communicated upon completion of their evaluation. A further follow-up request was sent on 3rd March 2026, and I am informed that a layout plan for the proposed development is currently being submitted to facilitate the company's consideration of the request. Madam Speaker, my ministry remains committed to the implementation of this project with a view to providing a properly structured, organized and safer market environment for both vendors and members of the public. In this regard, the District Council of Pamplemousses intends to resubmit the project under the performance-based budget 2026-2027 as a project under preparation, so that once the issue of land allocation is finalized, the design and implementation of the sheltered market at Pontsac may proceed. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Etwaria, yes?
I would like to know what are the obstacles that are stopping the signing of the memorandum of association with the Montsoisy Group so far.
As I said, Madam Speaker, so the request from 4.61 acres has become 6 enfants. So the request which has been changed, this also has to be considered by the CDMC. So we have already sent 2 requests, so we are waiting for the final from them.
Okay. Right, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B46.
Madam Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I am informed that the new Goodlands Market Fair currently comprises of 3 blocks, namely Block A, B, and E. Prior to the pre-tender exercise carried out in 2018, the project initially consisted of 5 blocks. However, the financial clearance obtained at that time proved insufficient to implement the project of its entirety. Consequently, the District Council of Rivière-du-Remport, in consultation with the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development, decided to downscale the project and proceed with the construction of 3 blocks only, together with supporting facilities such as parking areas, sanitary amenities, office and technical facilities, and other associated site works. Following the tender exercise conducted through the Central Procurement Board, the contract was awarded on 2nd October 2019 to OBRB Construction Limited. The works were implemented thereafter, and the project was completed on 15 December 2023, following extension of time granted mainly due to COVID-19 pandemic. adverse weather conditions, delays in shipment of materials, and additional works required during this implementation. The initial cost, final project cost, and detailed breakdown of variation works, compensation cost, and consultancy fees are provided in the document which I am tabling before the House. With regard to Part B of the question, I am informed by the District Council of Suivez that the new Woodlands Market Fair is comprised a total of 536 stalls distributed across several sections, including vegetable, haberdashery or general merchandise, SME, food, meat, fish, and poultry section on alternative days. With regard to Part B1 and B2 of the question, out of the 536 stalls, 434 stalls have been allocated and are currently occupied, while 102 stalls remain vacant. As regard to the haberdashery or general merchandise section, I am informed that the traders concerned have not yet relocated to the new market, as a case has been lodged before the Supreme Court, with a matter scheduled for hearing on 16 June 2026. Nevertheless, approximately 190 traders out of the 354 concerned have already signed their occupational contract. With regard to Part C of the question, I am informed that traders have been operating at the old Woodlands Market since 1992. Following the separation of the District Council of Suivez and Pamplemousses in 2012, traders who were already established in the market were allowed to continue operating in the market where they were already trading, irrespective of their place of residence. The details list of stallholders and their respective places of residence is provided in the document which I am tabling before the House. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I am tabling the documents containing the detailed breakdown of the project cost, the list of stakeholders, and the distribution of stalls by category in the new market fair.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given the information that the new Woodlands Market Fair operates on the mentioned days, I would like to ask the Honourable Minister whether a feasibility has been done of opening the market fair on other additional days. If not, can it be done? And what are the future plans to arrange for new allocation of stalls for new applicants, including SMEs, to operate on those days? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, as I told you that I'm tabling all the documents, so for the suggestion for possibility of opening the market fair on other alternative days, so as our market is under the management of the District Council of Suivez, I will submit a request to them to consider.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now B47 has already been replied. Now we have the third member for Port Louis North, Mr. Kazen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B48, please.
Madam Speaker, with the setting up of Muga project in the vicinity of Sainte Croix, a request was made to my ministry to relocate the existing methadone dispensing site at Sainte Croix Methadone Daycare Center, catering for some 230 beneficiaries, to ex-police divisional headquarters of Abercrombie, which was already dispensing methadone to some 376 beneficiaries. The relocation was effected at the beginning of 2023. The House may wish to note that in March 2025, methadone was being dispensed to some 635 beneficiaries at Abercrombie, leading to a large crowd, which posed safety and security concerns for the beneficiaries, the general public, and the officers involved in the daily dispensing process. A request for the relocation of the site was made by the divisional commander from Abercrombie Police Station. Madam Speaker, in order to alleviate these pressures and to ensure a safer environment for all stakeholders, a strategic decision was taken by my ministry in April 2025 to relocate approximately 170 beneficiaries from Abercrombie site to Vallée-des-Prêtres Police Station. As at 10 of February 2026, some 448 beneficiaries are still registered to receive their daily methadone doses at the Abercrombie site. Madam Speaker, I am informed that at the meeting held with the Divisional Commander of Abercrombie Police in November 2025, it was highlighted that recipients of methadone have the habit of displaying antisocial behaviors and loiter around the place where the dispensing is made. It was stressed that interagency cooperation should be strengthened to find sustainable solutions to such issues. I am further informed that the National Agency for Drug Control, which is now the apex body looking at the drug scourge, is addressing this matter. My ministry has also received a proposal by NADEC for the setting up a one-stop shop addiction treatment services and integrated harm reduction clinic at Nicole Road, Port Louis. The methadone clients currently at Abercrombie site will also be able to benefit from the services at the proposed site at Nicole Road. The possibility of gradual relocation of the clients at Abercrombie site to the proposed one-stop shop addiction treatment services and the integrated harm reduction clinic at Nicole will also be looked into by NADEC and my ministry once the one-stop shop has been formally set up.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Once we are dispensed with methadone, we can see a crowd of these people still remaining in the surroundings. May I know, in the short terms, what are the solutions that the Minister can propose together with all those framing, including police officers, members from Minister of Health, can assist to alleviate current situation at Abercrombie?
This is a situation which is throughout the country. Wherever methadone is dispensed to is the same problem everyone is facing. And we keep on getting requests from members of parliament that from X particular site, it had to be removed to Y. But when you are changing the site, you are transferring the problem from one place to the other. Well, it is a human problem. We have to bear with it. The police is doing its level best. And once our setup will be there in the new place, I do hope we will be able to get rid of those people, antisocial elements, from all the regions to one particular place where the police will be in a much better position to control them. But unfortunately, the problem is same everywhere.
Okay. Yes. Now we have second member for Grand-Bay. Poudre d'Or, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B49.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Tourism Authority that it does not keep the figures in respect of licensing fee collected from businesses constituency-wise. However, the Honourable Member is interested in having the total licensing fee collected by the Tourism Authority island-wide for the period of 2015 to 2024. I may ask the Tourism Authority to compile same for circulation to the Honourable Member.
Yes. Okay. The third member for Rivière des Anguilles.
Madam Speaker, B50.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Honourable Member for her renewed interest in this particular reform. Madam Speaker, the present system has caused much suffering and indignity for our people. Thus, the disability pension reform represents an important and much-awaited step towards ensuring that the disability support system in Mauritius becomes more inclusive, equitable, and responsive to the real needs of persons with disabilities in their daily lives. As I previously informed the House in my statement made to the sitting of the National Assembly of the 8th July 2025, and in my replies to the parliamentary question B501 at the sitting of 13th May 2025, and B842 at the sitting of the 7th October 2025, my ministry is currently working on a reform initiative for disability-related pensions. The major reforms that were identified include, inter alia, the introduction of a hybrid assessment model to replace the 100% medical-based model. B, the introduction of a graduated support model to replace the all or nothing model. And C, the introduction of multidisciplinary assessment panels to replace the medical boards. Madam Speaker, Government at its meeting of 28 November 2025 took note of the status of the proposed reform, which would be implemented over 2 phases, namely Phase 1, which will include the updating of medical guidelines for disability assessment, and the introduction of a graduated support model whereby those deemed not eligible for the invalid pension, basic pension, BIP, could qualify for an inclusive living allowance, ILA. The ILA would be revised, would replace the disability allowance, and its quantum would be revised higher. The disability allowance is currently 2,500 rupees per month, and there are only around 750 beneficiaries, as compared to 28,000 beneficiaries for BIP. And the Phase 2, which would include the introduction of a hybrid assessment model based on both medical and functional criteria, as well as the replacement of the current medical boards with multidisciplinary assessment panels, thus also conforming to the human rights-based approach recommended by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in its concluding observations of September 2024 on Mauritius compliance. Madam Speaker, currently my ministry is completing Phase 1 of the proposed disability reform, particularly an enhanced medical guidelines for disability assessment, as the existing one dates back to 2016, and many shortcomings and gaps have been identified in same. This Phase 1 reform initiative has involved significant technical work so far. I am proud to say that it was all an in-house and local expertise inputs. Back in October 2025, inputs and insights have been gathered by way of survey questionnaire from the medical practitioners of the medical unit of my ministry who serve the medical boards, which operates under the aegis of the aforementioned unit, to identify the gaps and challenges regarding the effective implementation of the medical guidelines. Subsequently, in November 2025, a series of consultative meetings have been held with medical specialists from both the public and private sectors who serve on the Medical Appeal Tribunal, which operates under the aegis of the medical unit of my ministry. A draft revised medical guidelines has already been worked out by my ministry and submitted to the Ministry of Health and Wellness for validation early this year. The revised guidelines will place greater emphasis on functional disability and limitations in activities of daily living, introduce more comprehensive criteria for assessing long-term health conditions, and improve the consistency and transparency of disability assessment, as well as reviewing the reassessment period for the renewal of benefits. Thus, the core of the technical work for the implementation of Phase 1 has been completed by my ministry. We are now expecting validation by the end of this month from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Madam Speaker, in parallel, we have also worked out the financial implications and the number of new beneficiaries of the proposed reform. The estimate of Phase 1 of the reform is some 500 million rupees per year. Consequently, financial clearance would be sought from the Ministry of Finance, including for the proposed introduction of the new inclusive living allowance. Cabinet's approval would be sought accordingly for the implementation of phase 1 of the reform in this financial year. It would amount to around 125 million rupees, while phase 2, subject to all clearances being obtained, is projected to be implemented within 12 months of the implementation of phase 1. For now, let us keep our fingers crossed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, yes.
May I request the Minister, in light of the reform that has been announced, to please make sure that people who have one of their leg chopped, lower limb chopped, or are half blind, one-eyed, don't have to go to medical boards every year in order to secure their pension. I mean, it's common sense that their leg is not going to grow, or perhaps they will never recover their eyes. So I don't understand why these people are requested to go and appear in front of a medical board every year.
I thank the honourable member. This issue is being taken on board by phase 1 of the reform.
Okay. Yes, Madam Dowdell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister consider amendments with a view to strengthening the appeals mechanism, more particularly reducing delays for such appeals?
Yes, we are making quite substantial and significant efforts to reduce the time for people to go to the medical boards. And we hope that the phase 1 of the reform will ease the reassessment and appeal to the medical tribunal.
Yes. Yes. Okay, one more. Then Mr. Juman.
Earlier on, will the Honourable Minister consider introducing or implementing regular reviews in the law to ensure decisions to discontinue pension claims are fair and consistent?
We will take this into consideration, Honourable Member.
Of course. Yes, Mr. Juman.
Speaker, Honourable Minister, can I know whether the proposed reform will also consider to review the carers allowance?
The current allowance.
Carers allowance.
Carers allowance.
Okay.
In the phase 1, this is not part of the phase 1 of the reform, but the redefinition of the criteria of the carers allowance is being reviewed. But it was in our manifesto to upgrade the carers allowance, and all will depend on the financial situation of the country in the budget. But we will make the proposal. Last year we made a proposal for the gradual increase of the carers allowance, but this economic situation was not good enough to cater for this.
You're very popular, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Being given that the draft guidelines have already been forwarded to the Ministry of Health and is now awaiting approval.
I can't hear you.
Madam Speaker, being given that the draft guidelines have already been forwarded to the Ministry of Health and is now awaiting approval, is the Honourable Minister in a position to confirm to the House whether he is willing to accept those families who are suffering prejudice, whether it can be dealt with a fast-track system?
In the meantime, you mean?
In the meantime.
Yes.
We will consider it and see, but I hope my friend is working very, very hard on the validation of the phase 1 of the reform.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God. I know it is a very sensitive issue. Madame Daouyarou first. It was her question.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Just as a question, are there plans to digitalize the whole monitoring and application process?
Yes, there was. I answered the question in the last year in Parliament. Yeah, the ESS system is being implemented. And we hope that in 2 years' time, the whole system of social security will be digitalized.
Okay, Dr. Prayag, then Dr. Umia, then Mr. Lubin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given that the carers allowance causes prejudice to the female population of beneficiaries, given that it depends on the household income for the beneficiary? Can we even consider to phase it out? If not, then consider to take an action concerning it quicker than awaiting for the phase 2?
The proposal will be made by the ministry in the context of the coming budget. Then it won't be my decision, it will be a governmental decision.
Yes, Dr. Umir?
Madam Speaker, in the event of the major disability reform being implemented, may I request the Honourable Minister to see with the members of the Medical Board that they have a more compassionate approach to the chronically ill and those who are bedridden, so that they have not been asked to come on stretchers and ambulances at the Medical Board to be assessed, but rather send a doctor at home for assessment. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Member for this observation, and we are aware of the difficulties of many people to attend medical boards, and we have taken a decision that all the people above 90, okay, the medical assessment is being done at domicile.
Above 90?
Above 90. And now we are trying to reduce it to 85 and then 80. This is the objective.
I think we're going to be in trouble. I have Mr. Levin, I have Mr. Duval, and it seems it's a question which is of great interest.
I love it.
I don't want to do...
This means that the reform is an important one.
Honourable Minister, since on the 9th of December, I got carried away, and I'm sorry, my dear Chief Whip, I don't want to get carried away today, although I also feel very strongly about it. Mr. Levin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister, is he in a position to inform the House how many pending appeal cases do we have? Because it seems that a lot of people are waiting for their appeal to be heard. Do you have such a list or figures so that you can provide to the House, please?
I don't have the list, but I can table it if you want.
Thank you.
But I can say that out of 100 cases examined by the board, 70% are granted and the 30% is going to the medical tribunal. But I can get the correct figures. I already gave it to the National Assembly previously.
In fact, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Duval?
In fact, it's on the same question. It had been reported in the past that more than half of the cases on appeal are overturned decisions of the medical board. One reason being that they do not have specialist doctors. The second reason being that they do not have access to files, medical files of the patients. Therefore, is the minister going to look into that aspect of, with his reform urgently, to ensure that people are given a fair consideration for their application?
Of course, this is a major issue that it will be taken in phase 1 and in phase 2 too. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, last one. I understand it's a very touchy issue. Last one.
Yes. Can this exercise be made more scientific and systematic so that we don't have so many people who go on appeal? Because that 60% criteria is too debatable.
This is precisely what we are changing.
Oh my God. Doctor, let's keep it. Talk to each other. Talk to each other, please. Because c'est insatiable cette question. OK? Vous allez parler entre vous. Je suis sûre que vous allez trouver des solutions. OK? Let me carry on because we haven't got much time left. Now, B51 is already answered, Ms. Anctil, and B52 is again Ms. Dauriel.
Yes. Thank you. B52.
Madam Speaker, this question provides with an excellent opportunity to highlight the comprehensive and strategic action which my ministry has undertaken to propel Mauritian sport forward. My ministry approach has been holistic, focusing on 3 core pillars, namely grassroots participation and community engagement, high-level sport excellence, and development of sports infrastructure, The above initiatives implemented have indeed yielded significant positive outcomes across all these areas. I believe we should also highlight that my ministry operates, among others, through its various executive arms, namely the Mauritius Sport Council, the Trust Fund for Excellence in Sports, the National Youth Council, the Côte d'Or National Sport Complex, and the Commission Nationale du Sport Féminin. It is through these institutions that multiple types of activities are organized for different strata of the population. At grassroots participation and community engagement level, the initiative includes, among others, the revival of the inter-college sport competition, the À nous transforme, nous l'endroit programme, and Course de l'unité. Madam Speaker, with regard to high-level sport, my ministry committed has been equally robust, ensuring our athletes shine at the regional and international stage. High-level sports excellence in Mauritius is driven by my ministry through the high-level sport unit, focusing on elite athlete development and international performance. Key initiatives include grant to National Sport Federation, sport organization, the high-level sport assistance scheme, and substantial cash prize scheme for medals at major international competition. Moreover, the Trust Fund for Excellence in Sport support athletes at secondary, vocational, and tertiary levels. We have to mention here the individual performance of high-level athletes such as Kimberly Lecour and Noémie Alphonse at international level. Madam Speaker, concerning our sport infrastructure, it is essential to provide our athletes with modern sport infrastructures with a view to elevating athletics performance, as it directly impacts safely, consistency, and training effectiveness. Well-designed sport facilities minimize injury risks, reduce fatigues, and enable athletes to train at higher intensities and with greater precision. To this endeavor, my ministry has moved to a proactive strategy of modernizing our sport facilities. Key upgrades were completed at the Cés Alfred swimming pool, the Maud Albert swimming pool, and Beauvallon football pitch, ensuring our communities have safe and modern venues to practice. The crowning achievement was the inauguration of Celsius Sagar Ramgoolam Sport Complex in Triolet in November 2025. This 200 million state-of-the-art multidisciplinary facility is a game changer for the region. This complex is a tangible example of our commitment to decentralizing access to sport. It provides a dedicated space for over 350 people to engage in everything from futsal and volleyball to pétanque and jogging. This directly combats non-communicable diseases, fosters community wellness, and provides a high-quality training venue for local athletes. Substantial investment would be required to give our sport infrastructure the lettre de noblesse, and requests for funding infrastructural projects are being made by my ministry in the forthcoming budget exercise. However, Madam Speaker, it would not be possible for me to enumerate all the initiative programs implemented by my ministry. I'm thus tabling a comprehensive list of these initiative programs. These are testimonies that the policy and strategies put in place are yielding results and serve as benchmark for the other athletes. Madam Speaker, to conclude, the initiative program implemented have had a profoundly positive impact. We have re-energized grassroots participation pour intercollèges, on transforme l'endroit, course de l'unité, focus on the elite athlete development and international performance, and build and upgrade the infrastructure necessary for future champions. The foundation for a vibrant, inclusive, and successful sporting nation has never been stronger.
Thank you. Yes, question.
Could the Honourable Minister state what is being done to upgrade and modernize sports facilities in the constituency of number 13 and 14, given that we do not have any stadium or full-fledged complex in that region?
It is in the agenda of the ministry to organize a meeting with constituency number 13, because we had some meeting with different constituencies in the past, recent past. So in the near future, we are going to have a meeting and we can discuss different activities that we can organize together.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, and could the Honourable Minister confirm or indicate whether government is encouraging private sector investment and sponsorship in sports development?
Yes, of course, this is in our agenda.
Yes, you finished? Okay, I'm going to be sweet.
Je vous remercie infiniment, Madame la Présidente. B53.
B53. Sounds like a ship or a... Okay.
Madam Speaker, in regard to the proposed construction of Belrose Market Fair in Caterbone, I am informed by the Municipal Council of Caterbone as follows. A plot of estate land of an extent of 6,548 meters square at Victoria Avenue, Belrose, previously leased to the Estate Investment Corporation Limited and sublet to Mauritius Jute and Textile Industry Properties Company Limited, has been identified for the implementation of this project. Following the cancellation of the lease, financial clearance was conveyed on 27 October 2023 for the payment of the compensation amounting to 5,293,393 rupees and 56 cents to the Mauritius Jute and Textile Industries Properties Company Limited for added value to the site. The deed of cancellation was subsequently transcribed on 27 December 2024, and the plot of estate land was vested in my ministry for the construction of the market fair. However, I am informed that the transfer certificate for the plot of land is still pending signature before a notary public, and despite several requests made by my ministry to expedite the matter, the formalization of the transfer has not yet been completed. As a result, the site has not yet been formally handed over for the start of the construction works. In the meantime, preparatory works have been initiated by the Council. Bids were invited on 28 January 2026 for the demolition of abandoned buildings and the clearing of the land at Avenue Victoria, with a bid closing date set for 12 February 2026, and the 3 bids were received. The bid evaluation exercise is currently in progress, and the contract is expected to be awarded by the end of this month, with demolition and clearing works scheduled to be completed by 30 May 2026.
Okay. Yes, very short and sweet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've got only one supplementary. Will the Minister state the facilities that will be provided in the new Belrose market? Thank you.
Madam Speaker, the project will provide market stalls, washroom facilities, and space for bus holding area, and a large parking space for avoiding traffic jams.
Okay. Now time is up. Okay, Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 12 standing order 10.
Yes, motion must be seconded by Minister of Housing. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. I'm sorry, I have to tell you also that several PQs, of course, have been withdrawn. B70, 71, 69, 73, 62, 59, 60, 63, 66, 68, 57, 58, and 74. Thank you. Prime Minister.
With your permission, I would like to make a statement on the adherence of Mauritius to the IMF Special Data Dissemination Standard Plus, the SDDS Plus, as from today. Madam Speaker, as the House is aware, the independence of institutions such as Statistics Mauritius and the Bank of Mauritius were grossly undermined before November 2024. Pressure was exerted on the Statistics Mauritius and the Bank of Mauritius to dress up official statistics, thereby giving the false impression of progress and weakening their independence at the same time. We pledged when we took office to reverse this. We have done so. These institutions now work with restored autonomy and professionalism, and the credibility of our national statistics has been rebuilt. But we're not stopping there. We are making further studies in our endeavor to secure the highest standards of transparency and accountability in the production and dissemination of statistics. Today, Madam Speaker, I'm glad to announce to the House and to Mauritians in general that Mauritius is adhering to the SDDS Plus, which is the highest tier IMF data dissemination standards, which is the most advanced and demanding of all international data standards. I would like to add here that as a result of my government's efforts, Mauritius subscribed to the first level of international standards, the General Data Dissemination System, in September 2000. It was under my government that Mauritius graduated to the SDDS in February 2012. We wanted, Madam Speaker, to send a powerful signal to the world that Mauritius strictly adheres to the principles of transparency and accountability with respect to the production and dissemination of data. In 2013, during an IMF technical assistance mission, we, through the then Statistics Board, seized the opportunity to request the IMF assistance in identifying the new requirements of SDDS Plus and the steps needed towards meeting them. Unfortunately, this was followed by, I must say, inaction for the following 10 years. 10 lost years. Last year, I decided to revive this important endeavor. I set up a steering committee under my office to speed up its implementation. Today, Madam Speaker, I'm glad to announce that we have reached the highest level, which is the SDDS Plus. The adherence to SDDS Plus means that we are now agreeing to publish more data, faster, and with tighter guarantees on quality, integrity, and openness, especially for government finance, the financial system, and external exposures. In practice, the SDDS Plus requires Mauritius to meet detailed IMF benchmarks on the coverage, the frequency, and timeliness of a set of core and additional data sets that are considered essential to monitor vulnerabilities and risks in modern economies. This is, Madam Speaker, a demanding standard, but meeting it sends a powerful message to investors, to rating agencies, and also to international partners that they can rely on our statistics when taking decisions about Mauritius. This graduation is therefore not just symbolic, It has concrete implications for our economy. The strategic benefits for Mauritius are multifold. One, reinforce international credibility. This is especially valuable for safeguarding Mauritius' reputation and increasing global scrutiny of international financial centers. Second, stronger investment and rating agency confidence. For a small, open economy reliant on capital flows, this credibility premium is strategically important, and for Moody's, it will be a credit positive. Third, the enhanced financial stability oversight. For Mauritius, where financial services represent quite a high percentage of our GDP, as we know. At one point, it was even 15%. But this now is a significant share of GDP. Therefore, this risk monitoring capacity is critical. Fourth, alignment with financial center ambitions. It would serve, Madam Speaker, as the reputational anchor consistent with global financial stability standards. Fifth, institutional and governance strengthening. These improvements will have lasting benefits well beyond compliance. Six, efficient access to international markets. For a small economy, open economy like us, adherence will facilitate access to markets for both sovereign and the private sector at a lower borrowing cost. Madam Speaker, for all these reasons, SDDS Plus is not merely a statistical benchmark, it is a strategic instrument for Mauritius. I would like to reiterate that our adherence will inter alia reinforce credibility at the transparent international financial center, strengthen financial stability oversight, enhance investor confidence, and support long-term economic resilience. In a global environment of heightened scrutiny and interconnected risk, SDDS Plus would provide Mauritius with a strong institutional signal of commitment to the highest standards of macro-financial transparency. Madam Speaker, I would like to highlight here that the graduation to SDDS Plus is indeed a major achievement. Only 31 countries in the world have met these standards, most of which are OECD or high-income countries. Furthermore, I should add, Mauritius is the only African country to adhere to the SDDS Plus. Through this achievement, we now stand alongside advanced countries, particularly in terms of transparency, credibility, and integrity of our official statistics. Let me also highlight that adherence to the SDDS Plus will make it extremely difficult for any government to try to manipulate data. Let me end by thanking the IMF for their generous and dedicated support. They responded quickly to field several missions to assist us. In particular, the report on the observance of standards and codes. It was a mission which, Madam Speaker, did a full audit of our overall statistical system and framework, and this was instrumental for us to reach the SDDS Plus. I also wish to thank all those who have worked diligently to achieve our goal, including officials from my office, the Ministry of Finance, Statistics Mauritius, and the Bank of Mauritius. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Do you mind, all of you, if we have a short break? Okay, let's go for tea.